Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pulse Advantage podcast. This is Dio Snetti Pellegrin here, and I'm with my business partner,
Daniel Rios, the CEO of Pulse Aviation.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about the process on how to acquire your first corporate jet. So stay tuned to the very end. So Daniel, let's talk about the jet acquisition process. When someone's looking to acquire a plane, whether it's their first time, obviously if they've done it multiple times, they kind of understand the process. But what does this process start with? What's, I guess, first step?
Okay, so, about our experience in the past, you'll have people that, obviously they run across different jets. And obviously, the lure is the Gulfstreams. I mean, the first thing you really want to do is you want to define, there's a couple of outlines you want to define. And you want to define, what does your typical flying routes look like, right? Are they domestic city to city? Are they more vacation bound? Are they international? So you clearly want to define what the utility of that aircraft is going to be, because that's going to be the most important thing in now outlining and going out and finding the type of jets and the category of jets that these people are going to need if they're going to spend this kind of money. Passenger count is also really important. Typically, hey, what's the biggest, I don't want to say crowd, but what's the biggest amount of passengers that you typically would need this jet for? Because if you come to me and say, hey, typically me and my wife, but there's times my team members, their family members, and those passenger counts can explode up to 12 plus passengers. Obviously, if you got a smaller jet, you're looking at what a lot of people face with, well, we're not using my jet, we're going to have to charter one, and it's another expense. So passenger count is really important when it comes to this. Must-have features. Some people don't care to have Wi-Fi. Some people do. I mean, some people need to be fully connected because of the nature of their business and their lifestyle. So that's a big selling feature. Wi-Fi, speed of Wi-Fi, what Wi-Fi system, communicative, telephones. And then you get into a lot of other stuff where you got like, your movie streaming services. It's like anything else in technology, right? Some people care for a lot of bells and whistles. Some people don't care for much. With me, myself personally, I really don't care for too many bells and whistles in a plane because the amenities, I'm not really over concerned with having too many amenities on the plane. I look more for comfort. So that's another thing. What's the comfort level? Some passengers are all about business. Some want to, actually tune the world out and rest and relax. So that's a big thing. Those amenities where they can really just, get on a plane, either spend some quality time with their family or just, close their eyes, put a mask on and, get some rest in. And then obviously, right, you want to really outline what's their max spending limit.
Yep.
Because everybody's going to have their number. And,
right.
No matter how much money in the world you have, you don't want to spend all your money. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be one of the biggest things, too, that you want to outline. So real clear, just to touch base again, you're going to define that person's route, what's the regular flying looks like, how many people, what are their must-haves on the jet. Some things they got to have it, some they don't care less if they have it or not, and then what they're willing to spend on that jet.
Absolutely, which makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, those are the key first things you need to do, so to decide, all right, what size jet do I need? Mm-hmm. Budget is huge because, like you said, no matter who you are, I don't care who you are, you can be the richest person in the world, there still is a budget.
Yeah.
You can't spend everything and anything on a jet.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to throw your money out the window just because. So, yeah, smart investment. It's an investment, so it's like any other investment.
Okay. Yeah, Daniel. So after you identify, obviously, the size of the jet, passengers, distance to travel, and your budget, what comes next? What's the next step in the acquisition process?
The next step is analyzing the market. Now we're going to start the hunt, see what's out there, what's available. Yep. Given, the outline and criteria of that customer, now it's, okay, remember, markets are hot and cold, right? Sometimes there's a surplus of types, and then sometimes, you got fast sales and strong economies. So we then hunt the market, see what's going on in the market. If it's a large cabin jet, hey, we got X amount available on the market. Maybe even search for off-market deals. And it's really just becomes now finding those jets that fit what that buyer's looking for.
Gotcha. I mean, just like buying any other asset or any other thing. I mean, you think about house, you first decide, well, what type of house we did, decide what kind of plane, what's your budget, then you start looking at what are your options. Yep. Because, you might want a specific jet, but like you said, it might not be a market. It's maybe, it's the supply is low. It's just not out there. So
Yeah, exactly.
all right. So once you find them, then what do? When you decide the right type of plane, you found the few jets. What comes after that?
Okay, once we find the jets that fit that customer's criteria, now we start checking boxes. Now we're going to rank these. So if I have 5 jets, now I'm going to put them in a category by, hey, this checks all your boxes, all the way down the line to the least. And then obviously what comes into play too is price comparative too. Hey, this top jet in our category is going for X amount of dollars versus the bottom one doesn't have everything you want, but it's going for this. And obviously it's a comparative shopping at that point. Now we're looking at price points. How much money are you going to save? So I've had, talks before where it's, hey, I need all this stuff. And if the number's 20 million, hey, but I can get you the same plane. It doesn't check all your boxes, but you're going to save yourself $3 or $4 million bucks.
Yeah.
So then that also, you're saving your client money, which is a big plus. And it also kind of wakes a lot of buyers up to, maybe I don't need that for, $3 to $4 million more. You know what, this is a better jet, not for everything I'm looking for in it, but I'm saving myself a lot of money. So it's like everything else when like you said, buying a house and stuff like that. It may not check all your boxes, but same machine.
Exactly, yeah. So ultimately, in this step, you're basically looking at the options you decided that fit your criteria, and you're really weighing the pros and cons of each one, deciding, what am I willing to compromise on? I mean, that's in the buying process, you're always compromising.
Exactly.
And what you can, what you have to have in a jet. So.
Exactly.
Okay. So Danny, at this point, we've measured 3, 4, 5 different jets, right? We decided these are the ones, this fits our criteria. Once you debate, you compromise, you look at the pros and cons of those 3 or 5 jets, what comes then thereafter?
Okay, so then it's, strike a deal time, right? It's time to make a deal. And basically you're submitting an offer, just like in real estate. You're submitting an offer, LOI, hey, this is our intentions. This is what we're looking to buy the plane for. This is our terms. Just basically what you do when you're buying a house. Same exact kind of definition of LOI, which is a letter of intent for those who don't know what LOI means. It's a letter of intent.
Exactly.
It's telling that seller, hey, we intend on buying this plane against these terms. And it's a very simple outline because it's not a contract yet. It's just, hey, it's a letter saying, we're interested in buying your asset. These are our terms. This is what we're looking at, our price point. And once that happens, you place the funds in escrow, deposit, right? Whatever the terms on that are. Sometimes, $1 million, whatever the case may be. That goes into escrow. Then you lock in your terms. And then once you lock in the terms, then you're going into a contract phase where now it's becoming legal. Now it's outlined in a contract. This is everything we want to pay, and this is what we're looking for. And then obviously, like everything else, it's a back and forth negotiation to finalize that contract, get it signed, and once it's signed, and then we just move on from there in the deal.
This episode is brought to you by Pulse Aviation. Your journey to unparalleled aviation excellence begins with Pulse Aviation. Whether you're seeking to acquire the perfect private aircraft, ensuring its airworthiness with a comprehensive pre-buy inspection, or maintaining peak performance, Pulse Aviation delivers unmatched expertise and personalized service. Our certified technicians and experienced sales professionals are dedicated to exceeding your expectations. From sourcing the ideal aircraft to ensuring its long-term reliability, we handle every detail with precision and care. We understand that your time is valuable. That's why we offer seamless, efficient solutions tailored to your unique needs. Contact Pulse Aviation today. Send us an email at info@pulseaviation.com to learn how we can elevate your aviation experience. And now back to the show. All right, Daniel. So obviously you do your LOIs, do the letter of intent. You place whatever the negotiation or the agreement is in escrow that you put as a down payment. What comes after that step?
All right, so then we go into what we've always talked about, pre-buy inspections. Now it's to take that aircraft that's being presented and go, okay, let's find out what's really wrong with this plane, what we're looking at, what maintenance comes back with, as we discussed with the Phenom we just had, where everything was all set in stone until logbooks couldn't be found. And that's a critical process in this. Maintenance records are everything. Flight records are everything on a jet. It's worth its weight in gold. So when you go into pre-buy, it's a deep technical inspection. It's basically this plane is taken in, it's ripped apart, and we're looking for corrosion, maintenance defects, maybe bad maintenance practices were done that weren't done according to regulation. This is all the stuff we look for. And then we do records auditing. Like I said, team sits down from when the plane left the factory, which we call its airworthiness release from the factory, till every station that thing has been through, every flight it's been through, what has been done as far as service bulletins, any, just anything across the board technical. We go through those records and we make sure it's all there. That then determines, if we find, obviously you're going to find discrepancies on planes.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as this plane's 100%. So maintenance comes back. There's a detailed report that says, hey, in this pre-buy inspection, this is everything we found and associated cost to fix all this stuff. Then obviously that goes now back into a negotiation. You come back, say, hey, maintenance found, let's say $1 million worth of maintenance. And there's an STC or an AD that hasn't been done and complied with that we want it complied with. And then obviously now there's a maintenance price point that has to be negotiated. And once that happens and all the costs are laid out, records are okayed, everything is good, then we go into a purchase agreement.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've done the pre-buy inspection, completed all that, and then there's the purchase agreement phase.
Because now you're going to like, hey, you asked for this much for the jet. We found this much. Now this is where negotiation happens. Some sellers will go, listen, I'll get everything taken care of 100%. Then we can go into our purchase agreement. So then there may be another waiting period. That seller may go back and say, okay, let's knock this out. Let's all the signed off. It's all completed, so that when we go into purchase agreement on this date, that maintenance log record reflects there's nothing else wrong with this plane. Everything has been signed off in accordance with maintenance practices, manufacturer's recommendations, and that's where we go with that. And then we go into the final purchase agreement where that LOI is then turned into a binding contract. That's where it's, A to Z is covered legally. Lawyers go back and forth. They do their stuff. And really that's what it is. And then, once everything comes to terms, everything is signed, and you got a new owner. Yeah,
ultimately, once you sign that purchase agreement, that's it. This is a done deal. It's just got to go through all the legal.
Some fall apart. I mean, it's an unfortunate side of it, but yeah, you'll get this far down the line, and somebody doesn't like something, and sometimes the deals still fall apart. But I mean, it's pretty much solidified at this point.
Okay. Daniel, so we've done our pre-buy inspection. We've signed the agreement, the purchase agreement. What comes then thereafter?
Okay. Now it's really important, because this is where some things can get kind of loopy. I've seen it in the past, but filing FAA paperwork. FAA needs to be notified that this aircraft has a new owner. Whether they're changing, sometimes you'll see they'll keep the same tail number. The registration kind of just transfers over. Tail number stays the same. Plane moves on to the north. But sometimes you get an owner, I need this specific tail number for whatever reason. So all that has to be filed with the FAA. But the FAA ultimately needs to be notified that this plane has been transferred in ownership, just like you do in the DMV. You buy a car from somebody, you take the title to the DMV to let the state know this car now has a new owner, right? So you're basically doing the same thing.
Gotcha.
When that happens and everything's filed for transfer, that's when funds get transferred, same like a real estate transaction. It gets transferred, and that person takes legal ownership of the aircraft.
Gotcha. Got it. Okay. And then once you close it, clear the title with the FAA, all that stuff, you wire funds. Obviously, funds are transferred. Any final steps after that? Once you've wired everything, taken care of anything, FAA approved, got the registration done and title done, what's the...
A simple walk around. Basically, that becomes delivery. The new pilots, whether it's a contract pilot, crew, or it's the actual new full-time pilots, usually if there's a director of maintenance involved, depending on how that flight department is structured, usually the director of maintenance may be a highly qualified mechanic for the new ownership, new pilots. They'll all go to the jet on delivery day, final walk around, check a couple things, just make sure everything is kosher, nothing else has popped up, no new damage or nothing like that. And then basically it's delivery day. Then it's making sure programs are transferred over, whether it's Wi-Fi subscriptions. Usually it depends on the owner. Sometimes they'll have that all done before delivery. Sometimes on that delivery kind of week, all that stuff. If the aircraft's on an engine program, all this stuff is then solidified, and that's what becomes delivery. Pilots take it, and they're out of there, and wherever the plane's going, whether it's staying at the same airport or it's going to a new home somewhere else.
Right. Got it. All right, Daniel. So we've delivered it. We've onboarded. The pilot's gone out there, picked up the airplane, took it to my home airport. What comes after that? What's that?
It's home.
That's it.
It's home. Now that's where your direct. If you got direct, like I said, it depends on your structure, your flight department. If you're a charter company, whatever. But basically, your crew. We'll just say crew for simplification. Now everything comes ahead. Or your record keeping. Now, okay, hey, we got it here. What's due? Usually you'll kind of know what's upcoming in the next 6 months for the aircraft. And that's where now your department, your ownership becomes, okay, now it's in our care now, so it's going to start our programs, our camp, whatever the case may be. It's time to start tracking operating costs. It's time to start tracking everything we need, because now the plane is your asset now.
Yeah.
So basically, it's what we do here. It's basically, hey, in the next 6 months, this is what the maintenance forecast looks like versus what's the plan for flying. And, obviously the person who's managing the budget for the aircraft, and then they're just now, okay, what the operational cost of this aircraft looks like going forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that pretty much nails, from beginning, from deciding what kind of aircraft you're doing to taking delivery of your aircraft. That summarizes the jet acquisition process in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. For the viewers out there, let's get them to understand. Do people go through brokers? Obviously I'm asking the question, I know, but who's helping or who's assisting the buyer and the seller in this process?
It's always brokers. Yeah, it's always brokers, because there's no for sale by owner unless it's these little smaller like Pistons. Yep. You'll see that a lot, for sale by owner, because those transactions aren't as, because the asset class, right? When you're talking something that's $75,000, it's like buying a used car, versus these Falcon 900 stuff that are worth tens of millions of dollars. There's so much more in work with these than would be a little Piper Warrior or a Cessna 182. There's a lot more involvement. There's a lot more legalities involved in these for the class of the plane and everything that's associated with it, all the programs. Because some of these programs run in the millions of dollars to run, HAPS program, run engine programs, run this, where you don't have that with a small little mom and pop piston plane. So you see in this class of aircraft, you'll see brokers are always involved.
Yep.
Only because of the legalities. There's a lot of legal involved and stuff like that. So you'll never see somebody with a Falcon 900 put a for sale sign in the window and it's sitting in the hangar for sale, and the first one who comes can buy it, give me money and buy it. It's a whole different process.
Right, yeah. You need a broker.
Yeah.
If you're buying, selling a plane, for those of you out there watching, whether you're in the market to sell one or buy one, you've got to have a jet broker. It's an extensive, we covered from A to Z what the process looks like, but it's pretty extensive. There's a lot around it when it involves the FAA regulations, things like that. There's things that a broker understands and knows what to look for. And the difference in brokers is missing and catching things. Because if they miss something, that could be the delay. That could be either a delay or it could just kill the deal.
Millions of dollars too.
And
if a broker or anybody misses something that's missed, it can cost an owner potentially a lot of money down the line. Like, if you got to make sure, vet your brokers. Vet your brokers. Aviation background knowledge is a huge plus, because the Phenom, like I said, the Phenom 300 that we just had the issue with. Our maintenance experience kicked in, and we recertified all the maintenance, and we got it done in like a couple of weeks. Where if you have people that are not well versed in maintenance, guess what? How do we go about this process? Like the owner of that Phenom, his question was, what do we do about this? He had no clue. He's not an airplane guy. He just knows how to get in it, tell his pilots, let's go, and that's fine. But have those people in your corner, and any successful person knows that. You got to have the people who know what they know, because like in that case where the logbook just can't be found. There was a section of the history of that aircraft was missing. And it's like, you got to turn to the people that know what they're doing. And that's going to be your best friend in this too, is people who know what they're doing, know processes, know every side of this, know the sales side of it, know the maintenance side of it, because it all comes into play, and really it's just, you pay for it up front, but it just saves you so much money down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, that's the end of this podcast, this episode. I do want to say here towards the end, the one thing that we do, the reason we started this podcast, is aviation brokerage and maintenance. So at Pulse Aviation, that's what we do. So if you have questions, whether you're in the market for buying a jet, selling a jet, or if you're looking for any type of maintenance, hit us up, info@pulseaviation.com. We'll receive your information, and we'll talk to you about what you're looking for in terms of services in the brokerage side or the maintenance side. But that's the end of this episode. We really want to thank you for watching. If you had any questions or anything like that, go ahead and leave it in the comments. We'll respond to those questions. And with that, thank you for watching. And right here on this episode, we were talking about that Phenom earlier. Make sure you click right here and watch that episode we talked about, that Phenom, where ultimately here at Pulse Aviation, we saved that deal. That deal would have not had been done if not for the expertise here at Pulse Aviation. So click right here, watch that video, and we'll see you in the next episode.